Mario Kart 8 came out almost 10 years ago, and in that time most people have asked the question, what's next? And with the recent Switch 2 leaks, it seems like a Mario Kart 9 is on the horizon. I thought I'd go through and talk about what I personally want to see out of Mario Kart 9. This will include game mechanics, tracks, characters, and more. But before we get into it, I'd like to thank you guys for 100 subscribers. It means a lot to me that you actually watch my content and subscribe. But without further ado, let's get into Mario Kart 9. The first thing I want to cover is game mechanics. I think that anti-gravity should return from Mario Kart 8, seeing as Mario Kart 8 retained gliding from Mario Kart 7, and Mario Kart 7 retained tricks from Mario Kart Wii, etc. Kart customization will also return, which leads into my first new game mechanic. Mario Kart 8 has a bunch of wheels that are only different cosmetically. My idea would give a reason to use a wheel over its reskin. Imagine you have a kart combo with the standard tires. Now imagine if the same kart combo with the blue standard wheels had slightly worse stats all around, but in return you get a passive bonus, something like stealing coins from other players, or recovering faster when getting hit by items. Of course this would have to be balanced delicately, as having too mild of buffs would give no reason to use the reskins, and having too mild of stat changes would give no reason to use the original wheels. However, if done well, I think it could add a great bit of strategy to picking your wheels. My next idea would be to add a new racing mode. As shown in my last video, I'm a big fan of when real-world racing concepts enter Mario Kart, and that's where I got the idea for this new game mode. There's a variation of real-world circuit racing, where rather than completing a limited number of laps in the shortest amount of time, they complete as many laps as possible in a limited amount of time. Most of these races in the real world are very long, the most famous of which being 24 Hours of Le Mans lasts an entire day. Although if implemented into Mario Kart, it'd be a lot shorter. As a Grand Prix mode, I think those races should last 3 minutes. Timed races wouldn't replace the regular races in the Grand Prix. Instead, they'd be two separate cups, effectively doubling the content. Unlike real-world timed races, I don't think the race should immediately end after the timer reaches 0, as it would be awkward to end the race in the middle of the track. Instead, when the timer reaches 0, the lap that the player in first place is on becomes the final lap, and once everyone crosses the finish line on that lap, the race ends. I think this new game mode would spice up the gameplay and change how you think about things like bagging and front running. It would also help spice up the gameplay compared to Mario Kart 8, which has gotten stale over its 10 years of release. I don't want to go too crazy on the new features, as Mario Kart's still meant to be easy to pick up and play. Adding too much might make it too complicated for newcomers. I think my mechanics are simple enough to understand, and also stick with the spirit of Mario Kart. Next up, I want to talk about new Kart's characters and maps. I definitely want to see more real-world cars in Mario Kart. I cover that more in depth in my last video about the Mercedes-Benz X Mario Kart 8 DLC, so watch that after this video if you haven't already. Someone in the comments of that video also mentioned that it'd be cool to see real bikes in Mario Kart. I highly agree with that, seeing as how many cool sport bikes could make it into Mario Kart. A lot of people in the comments of my last video also mentioned putting real-world tracks in Mario Kart, which would also be really neat and also leads me on to my next point about new tracks. I definitely want to see some of the retro tracks from the Booster Pass, like Coconut Mall for example, come back fully remade rather than being ported from Mario Kart Tour. It would also be neat to see tracks from Mario Kart Arcade GP, an often forgotten about arcade Mario Kart game, whose tracks remain exclusive to it and its sequels. In terms of new tracks, Super Mario Wonders levels are very beautiful and can make good sets for racetracks. A track themed around Mario Odyssey would also be pretty neat, possibly a track through New Donk City, or having Rainbow Road go through the wedding chapel on the moon. Finally, I want to talk about the character roster. Before I start talking about characters I want to add, first I want to go over characters that I don't want to see return. First off, there's way too many variations of Mario and Peach. I'd remove Gold Mario, Tanuki Mario, and Cat Peach, as well as Pink Gold Peach because we are striving for originality. I'd also remove Peachette because she feels way too similar to Peach. Those are all the characters I want to see removed, so let's get into the characters I'd want to add. Toadsworth would be an interesting character to see, considering the only Toad representatives we have right now are Toad and Toadette. Professor Egad would be cool to see, especially considering that Luigi's Mansion representation is limited. Also adding a skin for King Boo to make him look like how he does in Luigi's Mansion would be pretty neat as well. Rob could also be brought back from Mario Kart DS. He'd fit in a lot better now with all the non-Mario characters in Mario Kart. Those are all the track and kart ideas I had. If you have any, feel free to leave them in the comments below. In conclusion, Mario Kart 9 has a lot of potential as the next step in the franchise, and these were just some of the things I'd like to see in it. If you liked the video, remember to like and subscribe. Thank you again for 100 subscribers, and I'll see you next time.